Hey, Lunamoth here. So this morning I ran across a video, and I'm not entirely sure now how I found it. But it is about John Titor is the name, and he is supposedly a time traveler from the year 2036 who came back to around like the 2000s and was, I don't know how to explain it. I'll put links. But basically, he was active on all of these web blogs, on forums, and a lot of the things that he talked about have come to pass, um, and or like were explained in a way that was cryptic but now can be understood. So what I found was there was a lot of similarities between what he was talking about and the things that I am seeing, as well as what a lot of other people on YouTube are seeing. So the first and major thing that lined up was similar is he talked about war happening in 2015 and the fact that it wipes out about a third of the population because of war or because of the effects of war. Um, it's with Russia actually launches a nuclear strike against major U.S. cities as well as China and Europe. U.S. cities are destroyed along with the AFE, which is American Federal Empire. Um, that those words kind of caught my attention because I felt like that is a possibility of, if the U.S. collapses, that would be a fitting rename for the country, and it's very possible that that comes to fruition, that we are called the AFE instead of the United States of America, kind of how the USSR collapsed and is now Russia. Um, so another thing was that the government in the United States, at least, collapsed and was separated into basically 5 different sections or factions. So this I find interesting because it parallels or lines up with the Divergent movies or books. So there's a series called Divergent, which is a like post-apocalyptic teen novel. It's along the lines of The Hunger Games or Maze Runner. And in this movie, there are 5 different factions that you have to be like um, segmented into. You have to like test into them basically. So 5 different factions, and let me see if I can find it. Oh, I'm on the wrong page. So the factions for Divergent, or yeah, were, let's see, Abnegation, Erudite, Dauntless, Amity, and Candor. Abnegation is the selfless. Erudite is the intelligent. Dauntless is the brave. Amity is the peaceful. And Candor is the honest. So, I found it interesting that he says specifically that it collapses and then is segmented into 5 different factions, and then there's this book portraying something really similar to that. Then he talks about scarcity in the future. Grocery stores and things like that are like non-existent. He says that he walked into a grocery store at one point and was so overwhelmed by all of the milk the varieties of milk and how many, like 50 or 40 jugs of milk that you would just never see in one place in his reality. He talks about being terrified of eating the food here because we don't watch it be cooked. We're not watching it be cooked. We don't see what is put in it, and yet we eat it. And just speaking to all of like the GMOs and processing and that kind of thing, he actually predicts mad cow disease and tells people not to eat animals that are fed pieces of their own kind or fed other animals. And then he talks about 2012. Someone asks him about it and says, yes, there are unusual events, but they do not cause the world to end. It is important that they be a surprise. Perhaps you are familiar with the story of the Red Sea and the Egyptians. So the Red Sea and the Egyptians is Moses' story of Exodus, which is exiting, which is symbolic for like the lifting of the veil, ascension, and escape to the new earth, basically. And I feel like he says that these things must remain a surprise because there's so much, even in the Bible, that talks about how things must remain sealed until the end times, or things must remain hidden until the end times. Because if you had previous knowledge to a future event, you could, in fact, change or alter that event. And I think that it's meant to be a surprise so that it unfolds the way that it's supposed to. Not that things are set in stone, but still. So there's that, and then there was a few also memorable quotes from his website. So the first one is, while you sit by and watch your constitution being torn away from you, you willfully eat poisoned food, buy manufactured products no one needs, and turn an uncaring eye away from the millions of people suffering and dying all around you. Is this the universal law you subscribe to? Perhaps I should let you all in on a secret. No one likes you in the future. This time period is looked at as being full of lazy, self-centered, civically ignorant sheep. Perhaps you should be less concerned about me and more concerned about that. I'm sorry, my voice is, I've been sick and it hasn't recovered all the way. Okay, so there's that, and then he has a list. Is there anything we can do to prepare for the war you are describing? And he has a list of like 10 things. Do not eat or use products from any animal that is fed and eats parts of its own dead. Do not kiss or have intimate relations with anyone you do not know. Learn basic sanitation and water purification. Be comfortable around firearms. Learn to shoot and clean a gun. Get a good first aid kit and learn to use it. Find 5 people within 100 miles that you trust with your life and stay in contact with them. Get a copy of the U.S. Constitution and read it. Eat less. Get a bicycle and 2 sets of spare tires. Ride it 10 miles a week. Consider what you would bring with you if you had to leave your home in 10 minutes and never return. So I feel like these are all things that I've kind of gone over before. And then there's the end. This is actually a website that is compiled by someone else who wanted to put together all of the quotes and works and predictions of this guy so that they could kind of track it and see if they match up with events that are unfolding. So it says, were biological or chemical weapons used in the war? Were any weapons used that affected people's minds? Yes, there were biological and chemical weapons used. No mind-controlled weapons, but there are new non-lethal weapon systems that turn out to be quite lethal. And it says, what is one thing you would want us to remember? He says, please, please wake up. Look at the signposts around you now. So this is part one. I'm going to make part two kind of go deeper into reality and time travel and that kind of thing, and make it maybe more like scientific and logical for people to understand. But I will post links to the website that I was referring, and also like there's video chats. I guess this, I don't know how I've never found this guy before or information about it, but I guess the timing just wasn't right. So feel free to check out his predictions yourself and see which ones have come true for you. But I think it's funny that we are paralleling and predicting, seeing a lot of the same things coming. So